Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back for more of FDG-TV during the Foundation of Digital Games conference. This is our second day of, it's actually the first full day, I think. It's first full day of FDG is now complete. The second day is now underway, so it's time for more of me in FDG-TV. I am your host, Tommy Thompson, and I have, of course, my wonderful co-host, and as it says here, in the in our production notes, Chief Executive of Dogs, Anne Sullivan. Anne, how are we doing?
Good. How are you, Tommy?
Are those dog ears?
No, they're actually cat ears.
Right, because
let's get them.
We can.
There we go.
I think it's fine. I mean, I kind of dig the motif as well because it's kind of fitting with your hair and everything else, like the color scheme.
Yeah, they're just off kilter. Okay, there we go.
It's all good. It's all good.
Okay. Phew.
But also
we
Chief
gotta
Executive.
Look professional. Yes,
of dogs.
As the chief executive of dogs and all pets in general, all things fluffy and not. It's very important that we look professional.
Yeah. I should have something to say on that, and I really, really don't. As someone who has professionally looked unprofessional for most of my adult life. I mean, I'm wearing just plain clothes, no animal ears. I imagine I'd be allergic to it because I'm actually allergic to cats and dogs, sadly.
Oh, Tommy.
So
I'm so sorry.
Imagine even fake cat ears. I think would be devastating for me. I don't think it would work.
Yeah. Okay.
But
we can do therapy later in another episode.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, we also have a lot of photos, I believe, of some wonderful good cats and dogs that we can check out later on. But I don't want to spoil that. Yes. Here we go. So the conference is in full swing now. Hooray!
Yes.
First day of the conference, that's usually when we have the welcome reception, and we can't really do that here because it's an entirely virtual setup. So what we're going to encourage you all to do is, go make yourself a cup of tea or coffee or whatever is an appropriate beverage, depending on wherever you are in the world.
Yes, we'll wait.
Yep, we're just going to sit here now.
Yes.
Make sure to get a biscuit
yes,
or a cookie,
absolutely.
I suppose. Right, so hang on. And do you actually, so I lived in the States for a while and the word biscuit used to really throw people because people think about biscuits and gravy. Do you ever hear the term biscuit ever actually used in the context of a cookie?
I mean, yes, all the time at international conferences.
Of course.
But in the US now, no. Biscuits are more of a savory thing than a sweet thing.
I do miss them though because
biscuits and gravy in the UK, and it's one of the things I actually do seek out when I go to the US. It's one of my little things I really like.
So let's actually get talking quickly about that. We have two guests, or two guest segments with three guests in total today, and we're going to catch up with Mike, who
not right now, but
in the
middle. Yes,
I believe he is somewhere now down on the English coast. Down south.
Probably looking for water.
Safe to drink. Maybe not off the ocean.
No, not salt water, but...
No, not salt water. But also there might be some really nice best papers to find out there as well. Okay, shall we get to our first guest, do you think?
I think our top production team would really like that.
All right then. I'll leave you to prepare. That actually sounded like I was... doing the voiceover and the Hitman mission specifications, so if you ever actually play those games. Our first guest for today is going to be tackling a lot of interesting elements of co-creativity for AI design. And we've now, our guest is ready to go. So please welcome Nathan Partlan, a PhD candidate from Northeastern University. Hey, Nathan.
Hello.
Hey, Nathan. Welcome to FDG-TV.
Thank you so much.
The applause will be there. You can't hear it, but it's there. Don't worry.
We'll pause.
Imagining applause.
Okay. So thank you for joining us. It's really great to have you on. So we're hoping that, we'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself just to let our viewers get a better, get some knowledge of who you are and what you do, and also be able to tell people a bit about what you do.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Nathan, as you've probably mentioned, but I am a PhD student at Northeastern, and my advisors are Maggie Seyfel and Stacy Marcella. And I'm very lucky to be part of these kind of two different labs that bring great perspectives on like what players want out of games and how to understand player behavior, and then also how to understand virtual characters and how to create more believable characters. So my research really, though, has ended up being more on kind of what designers are looking for out of AI. Because I'm really excited about kind of helping designers fulfill their goals and create an experience that matches their vision. And I want to help them do that through AI in games.
Excellent. And for the viewers out there, your paper that you're going to be presenting here at FDG discusses the expectations, specifications, and workflows for AI-assisted co-creative design tools based on brainstorming/design sessions with two expert game designers. Yeah. So so co-creative tools have been featured in FDG in the past, but not for designing agent AI behaviors. And so we're just curious, like, what pushed you into this research direction and this domain? And
Yeah,
what do you?
That's an awesome
Oh,
question.
go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, that's an awesome question. Thank you. Yeah, so I love how co-creative tools have really kind of come into their own and have shown so much promise in things like map design, and started to be a thing in kind of narrative design, maybe. So I think the cool thing about designing AI characters and designing NPCs for games is that there's just so much opportunity out there, right? There's so many things that NPCs could do, and that they sometimes do in certain games, but that maybe a lot of game designers don't have the knowledge or the expertise or the particular like support from, I don't know, AI engineers that they need to kind of bring that to their own work, right? And to move beyond things that kind of, you know, their games are currently doing. So I'm hoping that co-creative tools could give them kind of some new ideas and kind of some support in creating the AI that they really want to see in their own games. And maybe it could do that for people who are working independently or working on a very small team where they don't have a dedicated AI engineer, things like that. So we'll see. I mean, it's still very new, but I'm excited to explore that space.
Like I was really interested in this paper as someone who does a little bit of AI engineering and on occasion AI design as well. And you know, one of the things you were doing is you kind of conduct these participatory design sessions with these experts who have, you know, do they have like any kind of preconceived notions or opinions of what co-creative tools are like, or how useful could they be? Like, did those opinions like change or mature, like particularly as the process continued?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question too. I would say that the two game designers are very much experts in, you know, designing games and designing AI for games. They've both worked on several projects that, you know, they have years of experience doing this, but they're definitely not experts on like general AI and co-creativity and like AI tools. So they were very new to thinking about that. And we tried to provide a little bit of kind of framing to help them understand what kinds of things we were talking about. You know, what can AI do? So things like, what is a genetic algorithm? And you know, what might you expect an AI to be able to do or not do? But we didn't do too much. We told them the very basics and let them imagine, right? Because we wanted to find out what they were excited about and what they could imagine a tool doing for them. so they came up with all sorts of cool ideas together, and the fact that both of them were there to kind of bounce ideas off each other and brainstorm, I think was really cool. And so by the end of it, they had not like a full like picture design or anything like that, but they had a lot of ideas for important features for visualizing AI behavior, for providing goals and objectives to the AI through like the ideas of character traits and visualizing the branching of how different AIs came out of each other from evolution and stuff like that. So they had all these cool ideas by the end that I think can really shape what we want AI tools to be like.
So, you talk about how they've come up with these different ideas. Did you find that they generally agreed, or were they actually looking at different things? And did they contribute equally, or did one end up taking the lead?
Yeah, I think what was really cool was that the designers were so in sync on this, and they really backed each other up and bounced kind of like yes-anded other people's ideas.
Awesome.
They almost never had major I don't think they ever had a major disagreement during the sessions. They were always like, oh yeah, that would be cool, and also this thing. And they had slightly different kind of previous experiences. So one of them talked a little bit more about behavior trees. The other one talked a bit more about hierarchical finite state machines. But the basic principles and goals and ways that they thought about AI were so wonderfully kind of congruent and really meshed well together. So we really got some fantastic insights from both of them. And I don't think either one kind of forced things in their direction or took the lead too much or anything. I thought it was really a good collaboration.
Like
I see we have another host here. I'm very happy about this.
Co-host number 3.
Yeah.
They sensed the ears. That was it. It was like, we need more ears.
Sorry, Zoe.
I feel like cats are like the best thing about virtual life. It's like I get to see everyone else's pets. It's so wonderful.
1000% increase in cats in any serious academic discourse, which is just fantastic. Bringing it back to the paper, like what particularly you were saying there about they these individual designers you're dealing with, they had their own perspectives and backgrounds. When they were actually thinking about how to use these tools, were they leaning more towards or designing towards kind of new ideas via like potentially other paradigms? We talked about genetic algorithms there, even though they had these existing backgrounds in things like hierarchical finite state machines and behavior trees, or were they more interested in sort of explanation, the idea of taking existing ideas and the designer's imagined workflow and finding a way to make that practical?
I thought it was a really cool mix of both, actually, which was really neat because in part of the sessions, the designers talked a lot about, what if AI could give us some new kind of brainstorming ideas, new creative things that we didn't realize that the AI could do, that the NPCs could do. So they talked about, seeing a whole bunch of branching possibilities and kind of picking and choosing ones that they thought were exciting, and then kind of digging down and diving into specific ones and visualizing them in more scenarios, testing how they would work in various situations. So partly that, partly like new ideation. And then the other part was that they were super excited about having the AI recognize when maybe they had created something that wouldn't work in certain situations, or maybe it had some kind of tweak to suggest to their current code to maybe make it work more like what they wanted in particular ways. So they talked a lot about kind of giving the AI character traits and having it kind of come up with new things, but also having the AI present a character and say, I think this character has this trait. Maybe it's like super cautious because it tends to run away from players more often or something like that. And having that visualization of what the characters were already doing and being able to kind of debug and say, is that actually what I want them to be doing? I think was also something they were super excited about. So they were interested both in the ideation aspect and in the like debugging and finding flaws kind of aspect too.
So do you think that the tools that your experts were envisioning, do you think that they might be usable by novices, or do you kind of see this as two different audiences that with different needs? And if you were to create something for novices, like what would have to be changed?
Yeah, that's also a good question. I've definitely been super excited by like Kate Compton's Casual Creators kind of framework of thinking about co-creative tools. So the idea of making tools that are accessible to novices and that are kind of fun to use and learn, I think is really important. And even though this tool that I'm kind of envisioning and talking with these designers about is aimed at experts, I think they said a lot of things that are relevant to making tools for people who are new to using this kind of thing. Because, I mean, in some ways, even experts would be new to using a co-creative tool, right? They wouldn't know exactly how to create in this new paradigm. So they talked a lot about needing to kind of control the complexity of the tool. So basically, not being shown everything up front, being able to start with some very simple decisions, start with just seeing like a tutorial or a like simple set of possibilities, and then
Right.
only unfolding the more complicated stuff as they kind of need it, right? As they need to tweak this one particular thing, then they can dig down and dive into how that particular part of the tool really works and figure out how the internals of that part work. So I think that's super relevant to anyone trying to use a tool like this, whether they're kind of an expert in a related field, like they're an expert in game AI design, but they're not an expert in AI-enabled tools, or whether they're just kind of new to both, right? I think in both cases, there's a lot of features that they'll need for learning and tutorializing. And we actually found that this was really related to how players learn new games, I think. I mean, we haven't confirmed that. Like, we haven't confirmed it with like a confirmatory study, but we definitely saw some similarities in how they talked about how players need to learn a game and how designers need to learn a tool. So that was really neat.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, as you were talking, I was just thinking about that, like about those parallels between how players learn games, and there has been so much research about tutorials and whatnot. So that's a really interesting point. Well, unfortunately, as much as we'd love to keep chatting with you, we do need to get going. But before you leave, I just want to give people information so they can watch your talk tomorrow. So the paper is Design-Driven Requirements for Computationally Co-Creative Game AI Design Tools. And it will be presented on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, which is 7 a.m. Pacific. We're so sorry. And 3 p.m. BST. Is that British?
That's British summertime.
British summertime. Okay. And it's the first paper of the session. And it is also an honorable mention in the game development methods and technologies track. So congratulations on that.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to have people see this work, and I really appreciate being here to talk about it. So thank you both.
Thank you.
It's been great to chat with you. I look forward, hopefully we can catch up again at some point when the cameras aren't staring down on us.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Take care.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.
Alrighty, everyone. That was our first guest of the evening, morning, afternoon. Time has no meaning. That was Nathan Partlan, once again, PhD candidate over at Northeastern University, looking at co-creativity for AI design, which is really interesting and something very, close to my heart. All right, now we're getting on to quite possibly the bit everyone's waiting for. We've already became the least popular part of our own show, thanks to what is now Best Paper Watch. As you all know, yesterday, Mike Cook, one of our top production team, is currently on the hunt throughout the English countryside, looking to find some of those all-important best papers. And thanks to your wonderful support of him yesterday, we extended his travel budget, and he's made it all the way down to the English coast. Enjoy.
and welcome back to another episode of Best Paper Watch. Today, as you can see, I'm on the most southern part of the coastal part, the south coast of England, and during Best Paper season, this is an opportunity to find some of the rarer finds of our traditional conference period. Now today, of course, we're at the ocean, the majestic domain of Poseidon, god of the ocean, and if we're very lucky and we sort of search around these kind of rocky areas, we may actually be able to find a little something special. Yes, that's right, it's a copy of There Is No Escape, Theatricality in Hades by Nick Junius, Max Skrzyminski and Michael Mateus. Now in this paper, they look at the concept of theatricality in games. Now, when we normally talk about theatricality in games, we talk about games as a performance, something that you're performing for someone, you do it once and then it's done. But in this paper, they look at Hades, a recently released roguelike in which the player plays and dies many times over the course of the game, and they instead think of it in terms of the production of a play, where during the early parts of the game, you're kind of rehearsing, you're learning the ropes, and later on, as you perform the play more and rehearse with the cast of other non-player characters, the story develops in the same way that the actors and cast, their understanding would develop through the production of a play too.
And this is a pretty interesting take on narrative-driven roguelikes that rely on cycles and repetition to tell their story.
So a fascinating paper looking into one of the best-loved games in recent years, and of course a roguelike, so very close to my heart as well. An excellent find down here by the beach. So from the sea to the land, we've now come to the top of this very, very tall hill here. Hopefully you can see the ocean behind me. And we're here to look for a very different type of best paper. Now, at this time of year, the best papers sort of tend to flock and migrate from many, many countries. But as they fly across, we do get a chance to glimpse flocks of them in the sky, sort of herding their way to the conference location itself. And if we're lucky, there's one paper in particular that I'm hoping to spot while I'm up here. Yep, now I think if you look just up there, if I'm not wrong, let me just check my Best Paper Watchers guide. Yes, that's improving the discoverability of indie games by leveraging their similarity to top-selling games by Quang Vu and Corporal Besame. Now, this paper solves a problem that's very dear to my heart. If you're like me, you're a fan of indie game stores like itch.io, where there are hundreds of thousands of small games made by independent developers. But the problem is that it's hard to discover games that you like on these stores because the developers don't have enough money and influence to sort of advertise broadly. And also it's just sort of hard to explore a store with hundreds of thousands of games on. So what the authors do here is they build a system that can connect games that we don't know, indie games on itch.io for instance, that we might like to try, and relate them to games that we do know by looking at popular games on services like Steam and connecting them using analysis of things like their tags, their descriptions and keywords. And not only does the paper present a system that does this and describe it, but they evaluate the system by talking to indie developers to get their perspective on it, and then even go as far as sort of evaluating their approach to the entire research project. So it's a really complete paper that solves a very important and pressing problem. And much like the views up here, it gives us a great perspective on the huge industry that we're a part of. Metaphor nailed. Well, thank you very much for watching. That's all we've got time for in today's episode of Best Paper Watch. I will, of course, be back tomorrow in tomorrow's episode of FDG-TV. In the meantime, don't forget to go to FDG's website to find the schedule so you can see where to catch the talks associated with these best papers that we talked about today. Thanks for hanging out with me by the sea, in the sun, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Mike. Another wonderful job on Best Paper Watch. I was asked to actually read out some of the additional notes from this that Mike actually got extremely sunburnt from doing that episode, despite slapping on Factor 30 sun cream, which is, I think that's really, that's not enough where I come from. I wear Factor 50 because I'm so pale.
For those of you who are not in the UK, that's SPF 30 in American English. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sorry, thank you. And also apparently 3 elderly couples went past him while he did that clifftop segment and they all looked at him like he was a serial killer because he's wandering around like that.
I want to know how many people called the cops on him.
Classic.
I mean, I did, but anyway. So yes, thanks again to Mike. We'll have more from Mike tomorrow. But in the meantime, we have two guests joining us for this second half of our episode today. Please welcome Christopher Brooks and Jamie Camera, who are here to tell us a little bit about their paper on Uplifting as a BIPOC game design case study. So am I right in saying this is your first time at FDG? Is it the first time at an academic conference as well?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a first.
Well, welcome to FDG. Yep. Welcome to FDG-TV as well. So we were wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about yourselves, so the audience can get to know you better.
Yeah, totally. I can start. I'm a recent graduate of Northeastern University. I graduated with a degree in computer science and game development. Kind of like when I do games, I really want to focus on diversity and making sure that like people like me, my stories are included, because games just generally lack that. And now I am doing QA at Other Side Entertainment.
Well, congratulations, first of all, on graduating. That's awesome.
Thank you
And for getting a job in the industry. Sorry, how about you, Chris?
So my name is Christopher Brooks. I am a rising third year, still in my undergrad at Northeastern University as well. I'm a computer science major with a minor in Africana studies. And I'm just really happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us.
Indeed.
Wow. I'm thinking back to undergraduate, and like I was certainly not working on research as an undergraduate.
No.
Yeah, we're very lucky to find our professor, Alexandra Toe. She's great and has been helping us through this whole process. We would not know where to start at all.
Exactly,
otherwise.
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and her work is amazing. So I just wanted to summarize your paper real quick for the audience. So in summary, your paper acts as a case study and initial exploration into tensions, challenges, and opportunities that arise in creating BIPOC games. And here BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color, for those who are not familiar. So I think one of the things that could be really helpful for our audience is to know how you define BIPOC games and BIPOC game design in particular.
Yeah, totally. So when we started this, we defined it as games that are made for, by, and about BIPOC students, specifically in our case. And yeah, so basically we want all elements of game design, ranging from like characters to mechanics to general story, to be about focusing on the BIPOC experience and like real lived experiences rather than like fictional stuff.
Yeah, like the biggest thing about BIPOC games is that, and we also drew inspiration from the queer games movement, is that the ethos, not just like the different aspects of like a BIPOC game, but like everything is the whole entire ethos of a BIPOC game surrounds and centers the experiences of people of color.
So I had a good read through this paper. I really enjoyed it. Read through it a couple of times now because I really wanted to get my head around this, because it's not something that I've really gave much thought to. And what I thought was really interesting is it stated at the beginning, this is a response to this year's theme at FDG on diversity and inclusion through games. Like, was this idea of framing and analyzing this design process, was this something that you already had in mind, Chris? Was this something that you already were thinking about and were actually conducting, and then subsequently, oh, this actually fit the theme of the conference? Or was it something that was kind of a reaction to that announcement?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, my PWI, which is the working title of the game that we're creating, was we kind of started at least the design process for the game back in, I believe, October of 2020. So the project had been going on for quite a while. And when we saw what the theme was for FDG this year, we figured it was just like a match made in heaven. We were doing all this this interesting work on designing a BIPOC game, and we felt like the theme of diversity and inclusion that FDG was doing this year really kind of went hand in hand with all the things and all the insights that we kind of gained from working on the project.
So, one of the things that I thought was really interesting about the work that you were talking about in the paper, which, I mean, of course, we recommend everybody reads all the papers, but I've also really particularly enjoyed your paper. Your focus is on uplifting BIPOC games. It's not necessarily just about, there are times where people say that they're making BIPOC games, and it's not necessarily what you are doing. I'll just leave it at that. But you mentioned that you have a desire to refrain from letting the focus be focus of the game become narratives of trauma and struggle, which I think is a very, very important detail. And at the same time, you want to reflect the oppression that students do experience. And so this seems like something that's probably very difficult to balance. And I'm curious, while you were doing the design, did this, was this just like a one-time conversation, or, and everybody just understood it? Or was this something that you found continually came up during the design process?
I would say it probably every meeting we had to adjust one little thing to fit in the framework. I think the approach we had was that we knew that we want to make sure that we're not inflicting unnecessary trauma to our players. And you kind of don't notice how often that can happen, especially with video games where violence is incredibly common. So yes, it was something that basically every meeting we would take a design decision we had, and we'd be like, okay, but does this actually reflect what we are trying to say? Yeah. Is this going to cause unnecessary trauma? Stuff like that. So it was, and honestly still is, just like an ongoing thing that we have to focus on.
Yeah, and to piggyback on what Jamie said, it is still like an ongoing conversation that I believe last week we had a conversation about whether or not to include teacher microaggressions in the game, because that's a very real thing that happens to people of color on college campuses, especially predominantly white ones, is that you are going to experience certain racialized experiences. So it's definitely a unique balancing act to try to keep in that authentic, because we do want to reflect the whole entire reason why we wanted to make this game was to reflect the experiences that people like me and Jamie have experienced at predominantly white institutions, but not necessarily have the good as well as the bad, but not really focus too much on the bad. So it's a balancing act. It really is.
Right. It's more than just that one experience. That makes sense. And just real quick, your game's called My PWI, and PWI is predominantly white institution. Is that correct?
Yes.
That stands for? Okay. Sorry, I think Tommy had a question.
I did, because so you're saying here about being able to capture all these different unique experiences that people have, and one of the things that you mentioned in the paper was that the design choices of the case study were meant to mirror the role of a cultural centre at a university. So I loved this this part of it, being able to talk about shared experience and to be able to make them manifest and reinforce their importance. But at the same time, when we're talking about BIPOC, this isn't just one set of cultural values or cultural experiences. So how do you try and balance these ideas against the risk of kind of individual experiences becoming homogenized?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the cultural centers are definitely are a source of inspiration for the kind of impact that we wanted to have by making this game. So I'll give an example. So at Northeastern University, which is the university that I attend, we have a cultural center for Black students. Shout out to the John D. O'Brien African American Institute, by the way. And very quickly, that place became like a home away from home for me on campus. Just because it was one of the few spaces on campus where like I could go somewhere and I could be surrounded by people who understood, just what it was like to be a Black person on a predominantly white campus. So that's the sort of effect that we were trying to get at with our game. We were trying to have somebody pick up this game and be able to point to like to certain things or different things and be like, oh, like I get that, like that's my experience, that reflects me. So in like choosing which like experiences and which just different things in the game that we wanted to reflect. I guess what like really helped, at least me personally, was drawing from not only my experiences, but the experiences of my friends and all the different people who I interact with on a daily basis at school. So just trying to keep it like authentic, while also not trying to draw like large conclusions about how just not trying to do too much, just trying to share the experiences that we found, and hopefully that the authenticity comes through that.
Yeah, and along with that, Chris has kind of been the leader in developing the characters for our game, and Chris has done just like a phenomenal job of making our crew seem like as real as possible. Like they don't all come like from the same country. They don't all come from the same economic background, stuff like that. And I think diversifying that is really what like leads people to like be able to like catch on to a character and like really be able to like understand what that character is going through and be able to relate it to your own experiences.
Right. So not treating it as like, oh, everybody's the same in this group, but people are individuals.
Exactly.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Absolutely. So critical race theory and social justice are definitely becoming more prevalent. I know it's starting to work its way into my work as well as other people that are attending FDG. But I know that there's often a hesitance to get into this work. I know like I initially felt that as well. And now that I've gotten more into it, like, that hesitancy does go away, but there's these issues that people have, they have a fear of saying or doing the wrong thing. And, they want to be an ally. They don't want to cause more issues. And I'm curious, do you have advice for other people that might want to be more involved in this type of research?
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead, Jamie. Sorry.
Thank you. Yes. Honestly, just listening as much as you possibly can to people who have these lived experiences is probably like the top thing for me. Like I am Latina and I will never like say that I could like relate to like, let's say the experiences of like an Asian American, so I think when you start to like separate that part of yourself from like what everyone is going through, it really helps you like better understand these like true lived experiences and stuff like that, like really pushed forward our game and is like what we are writing on. I also just suggest like if you're watching this already, you're already doing like quite good work that you are like already know about these events and know to like listen to them. So yeah, I think there are really amazing people who are like spearheading this type of work, and finding papers, finding talks, like even GDC if you're specifically trying to get into games, like there are some amazing talks there. And I say just finding a community wherever you can, whether like even if it's just on Discord, it's just like super important for getting into this type of stuff.
Yeah, Jamie summed that up perfectly. I've learned a lot about allyship, like in this past year. Just being a man, like I'm a Black person, but I'm also a man. So I've learned a lot about allyship, and I'd say like the biggest thing that I've learned, and the biggest piece of advice I would want to give somebody else who is looking to become a better ally is what Jamie said. Just listen. There's a lot of like the people who you're trying to help have a lot of experiences and not a lot of unfortunately not a lot of opportunities to be heard and for them to share those experiences. So do your research and listen, just wherever you can and however you can, just listen and make other people know that they're being heard is probably the biggest thing.
So, what's next for my PWI? Are you, it sounds like you're still developing on it if you're still having meetings, and this is a totally selfish question, but when is it going to launch, do you think?
I don't think we have a projected launch date right now. But yes, to answer your question, we are still in the like digital phase of it. So a lot of what this paper was based on was like paper prototyping. So now we're actually getting digitalized into Unity. Sorry, word scramble right there. Yes. So we don't have a definite date right now, but we will at some point. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, and just to give some insight onto like other things that are kind of running parallel to the development of this game is that's why I thought the question that you asked about how we avoid like homogenizing different groups, I thought that was very interesting because we're actually trying to conduct an interview study asking BIPOC students who attend PWIs, getting their insights on what their experiences are to further like inform our game design and all our design principles and so we know that we're on the right track essentially. So that's another thing that's kind of going on in tangential to this project. So
yeah, I could see a lot of really interesting research coming out of this as far as like design principles for other people that want to create these types of games. And I think there's a lot that we can all learn from this. So it's very exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But yeah, what we'll do is we'll wrap up now. Thank you both so much for taking the time to come and hang out with us. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you've enjoyed hanging out with us and being pestered with questions.
Appreciate it.
For everybody else out there, if you're wanting to find out more and actually check out this work, the paper is called Uplifting Us, a BIPOC game design case study. It is by Christopher Brooks, Erika Principe Cruz, Jamie Camera, and Alexandra Toe. The poster session is going to be tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific, or 12 p.m. Eastern, or 5 p.m. at BST. That's British summertime. That's for me to know when to turn up. And yeah, thank you both once again for joining us. This has been great, and we'll hopefully catch you throughout the rest of the conference.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Well.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Y'all are very cool. Y'all are very.
That's the first time anyone said that to me in a long time. I will take it. I will take it. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Oh, right. There you see that? Someone called me cool. No one said that to me in a long time. This is mostly now because I'm just a university lecturer or whatever I am now. So I guess nobody really calls me cool anymore. But yes, one of the important things, and my top production team was keen to point this out to me, was that, the theme of allyship, which has came up, throughout this conversation. This is actually something we're going to be returning to later on in the week, particularly around game design ethics on transgender allyship. So definitely a topic we're going to be coming back to later on in the week. And that was great. I enjoyed that. Anne, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm cool. So
okay. We're good.
That's
we're done.
It. I'm done. See y'all
we're
tomorrow,
not
folks.
No, we're not.
Right, fine.
No, we have to have our photo challenge.
That's right.
Yes. I believe we have about 1,000 photos because the topic for this for today was who or what are you enjoying FDG with? So people send us pictures of pets, plants, and stuffies.
All right then, let's get into it then. So we start off with just a dog.
Excuse me, there is no just a dog.
Okay, I'm sorry.
11 out of 10. This dog is amazing.
This is from Adrian Gonzalez. Lovely dog. I'm just making sure I get all my notes up here so I can successfully say who each photo is from.
We unfortunately did not get notes of who these are. Oh, I actually know who these are. This is really weird that my photos are in here.
You know who these are.
I do. So Kaylee is on the left. She is the one that joined us yesterday. Sam is in the middle. He has not joined us yet. And on the right, stealing the dog bed, is Zoe, who joined us today. So
there you go.
There you go.
Over on the next one. So this is from our top producer, Antonius, which I believe he said it's a
cat sanctuary.
Cat sanctuary just up the road from his house.
And yet there are chickens.
And there's chickens too, because, they don't want to be trapped, tied down to just one animal type, I guess.
Yes, it's a cat and chicken sanctuary.
There you go. So a little bit of cat.
All right.
Charlene Foch, from our guest from yesterday, sent in some wonderful images of...
Look at the very good kitty. I'm sorry, this is going to be me squeeing for as long as he's going.
This is it. This is like, we need to get the photo. We need to get the camera back on you just so we can see you. You're like... right, so next up, this is brought in by Christoph Salga.
Gosh. This is a cinnamon roll, and we shall all protect this kitten at all costs. Look at that kitten.
Look at that kitten. Let me just blow that up for you, everybody. There you go.
Oh, such a good little kitty.
Fantastic. Next in from Emily, which has decided to come in the wrong angle. But hey.
So the kitty is jumping in the back.
Even when challenged by gravity.
Yes.
This kitty is...
That is a very committed kitty.
Very committed. Let's see. So this is from Florence Smith.
Yes.
Nichols, which...
Yes.
Is that... What are those?
Those are Pokemon.
Are they all Pokemon?
Yes. You know who they are, right?
Yeah. I mean, hang on. So I should know the owl one, I think.
Okay. Unknown is the one on the left.
Okay.
Mareep is in the middle. I am probably pronouncing this incorrectly because I've only seen them written. And is it Rowlet?
Rowlet.
Rowlet.
Yeah.
On the right. Yes.
See, I recognized. See, I should know the sheep as a man who grew up in Scotland, where you're surrounded by sheep at all times. I should really know better. Next up, we have the back of a cat's head.
That is Kate Compton's cat Ishtar. Sorry, I
love that you can immediately. You're just like, I recognize the back of that cat's head.
Do. Oh my gosh.
Next in, we had Gorm send in. Didn't have an actual animal, but instead took a screenshot of his virtual pet instead.
Yes, and there are birds in this shot.
Lots of birds. Good
Lots
stuff.
Of birds.
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. This is probably my favorite. This was sent in by Henrik, who was complaining that his mouse wasn't quite working as it should, and it's the whole thing. The framing, the staging, everything. It's just
so good.
It's so good. I saw this
very good little piggy.
I saw this appear on the Discord last night, and I did laugh at it for a solid 2 to 3 minutes. Just everything about it is just so good. Okay,
I love the face he's making.
Exactly. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. So this is from Joanna Perker, who's got a cat just hiding in amongst.
Yeah, I know you probably can't see the cat because this cat is very well hidden, or so the cat thinks.
Stealth cat.
But yes. I'm just imagining Joanna coming back from like a full day at FDG and the cat being like, "Where have you been?" Anyway,
another vertically challenged cat in here.
Yes.
I'm going to try and rapidly fix this. There you go.
Hey, that was easy.
I learned how to do
Yes.
this yesterday and forgot to do it today.
I want to say that the cat's name is Merlin. Who do you have the name of who took the
It's,
photo?
Yohor Hara.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Very good kitty. Very good coworker.
see the next one. I saw there was a lot of discourse around this particular. So this was sent in by John Holmes because
Yes.
the question was how many dogs are in the photo.
Yes. We're gonna wait for people to
Yep, fill in. Yep, go over to the. I'm going to keep it blown up for you, just for a minute. You can go put in your answers over in the chat. See if you can
Yes.
figure it out. Do you remember how many it was, Anne?
I do.
Excellent. So how many dogs are there in this image?
I said that I believe there are 6.
Yeah, I didn't
I
get it
don't
either.
know if they gave you the photo that I made. Yes, there are 6. Our top production team has confirmed there are 6.
Yes, this is why we have a top production team, because when we need someone to count the dogs, all the good boys in the photo, we got
Yes.
it. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Also, John sent one extra of just
Look at that. That's number 7.
that's dog number 7.
Dog number 7, who is apparently from Mexico.
Joseph sent in this particular number.
So cute. I can't look at the tummy. Oh my gosh.
Okay, we'll just have a nice, more noble shot,
Yes.
and then we'll have a close up as well.
Look at the boop the snoot. Yay.
So this was from Kutub Gandhi, who wasn't sending in images. I think this was more in keeping with yesterday's.
No, these
Was it?
are
So is it
these
just-
are the pets.
All right.
Yeah, look at these healthy plants.
They are nice plants.
Yeah, definitely well taken care of.
Indeed. Doing a good job. Let's see, next up.
It's another one of the piggies playing Animal Crossing. Sorry.
You all right?
Sorry, not sorry.
You okay?
Okay. That's just so... Yeah, that one's by Laura Levy.
Yep.
Who also actually the piggy with Henrik is also hers.
I did enjoy like the level of craftsmanship involved in these photographs has been top notch. I think across the board, but I think I'm
Yes.
really enjoying the creativity here. Also, it jumped. What happened there? Where's the rest?
We've gone back around. We've looped back around.
Well, apparently it's decided
that's it.
that's it. Even though I actually have, according to my thing, 4 more images here,
Oh, no.
which I'm going to quickly, because this is convenient, because we're editing this stuff. I'm going to edit them in right now. We actually have an extra image from Laura Levy of the guinea pig alongside some plush Pokemon. We also have Matthew Gusdale posting in photos of cats, which you just have to take. You have to take my word for it. It's cute.
No, I remember this photo because it's an orange kitty and a black kitty. They're Halloween kitties.
Also, last one of Mrs. Tort.
Oh yes, the tortoise. Look at that. So that shot is beautiful.
That is
a beautifully taken photo.
I'd like a good tortoise photo, which is not a sentence I expected to say when I come to an academic conference, but there you go.
There you go.
There we
right.
go. Aren't I wonderful? Look at that. We can just immediately jump back. Everything was just edited in perfectly. As far as everyone else
Absolutely.
knows, it all went seamlessly.
Yeah, except we're totally gonna forget to edit this part out. Okay, so tomorrow at the conference, let's talk about what's going to happen at the conference, not just FDG-TV. Tomorrow, Mel Stanfill, who we will be interviewing after Mel's talk, is going to be happening at 1 p.m. Eastern. It is about Among Us and the politics surrounding Among Us and its popularity. And tomorrow we have a keynote from Katja Hoffman at Microsoft Research. There's a panel, Research Methods and Game Education. So check that out if you are interested in doing that type of research. And there's going to be games and demos at the end of the day. So go check out stuff that people have created and sent into the conference. I almost just said sent into the show.
Of course, where else do they send it?
That's true. Maybe we can,
I don't know what our
FDG.
impact factor is yet, but I'm still waiting to hear back from the impact people.
Yes, FDG TV is 7 participants. FDG, 300, whatever it ends up being.
And we're going to have another photo challenge tomorrow, is that right? And we've got another photo challenge tomorrow, is that right?
That's correct. Tomorrow's theme is FDG Banquet. So remember, well, maybe you haven't been to previous FDGs, but generally FDG has a banquet, and it's a big, generally a big affair, and everybody comes together and eats a very lovely meal. So we want to see your FDG banquet at home or wherever you're watching FDG. So send us food, like pictures of your food, drinks, etc., and we'd love to show them off.
Alrighty, excellent. That's been a good episode, I think. It's going to be even
think so
better.
too.
It's going to be even better once I've edited it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like one of the best things about it is you're going to get to enjoy a version that's probably 20 minutes shorter than the one we recorded. And with that, that's the end of today's FDG TV. Stay safe, take care, enjoy yourselves, and we'll be back.
Bye.
Bye.